What up, y'all? It is Wolflaf coming back at you guys with a new video. Today I'm making a tier list on Medieval 2 factions, just doing a classic ranking, giving my opinion. Been playing a lot of Medieval 2 since I got into college, and that's actually why I have not uploaded that much recently. I moved across the world, got into college, or I am going to college, and I just haven't really had the time to make anything, but Christmas break is coming up. My workload is dying down somehow, even though finals are approaching, and I decided to get you guys this one today. So today we're doing a power ranking based on how powerful each Medieval 2 faction is. And later I might do my own personal fun rankings. Alright, so we're going to start off obviously in list order. We have Venice. Venice, in my experience with my playstyle, is probably about an A. You're really like I might have fucked. I have a really janky ass setup right now, but you really have like a fantastic start point. What's going on there? You really have a fantastic start point. You're pretty close to the Holy Land, and you're pretty close to Constantinople, which is part of your victory conditions, and you're also pretty close to the Pope. The only issue with Venice is that there is a fractured empire, and that you only start with 3 settlements, which isn't a ton. Your rebel expansion is really like it's all right, I suppose. Depends on how you go about it, obviously, because there's not a ton to your west or north. You could try to beat the Holy Roman Empire to Florence, but you probably won't. And you're gonna grab, I believe it's Zagreb and Durazzo, real quick, but maybe you get Rhodes and Smyrna. So you could get lucky, and obviously in my games, I've got a ton of hours. I've got like how many hours on Med 2? 600 hours. And that's just on the Steam version. I have plenty on the application version as well. So personally, Venice, also their roster, it's not the greatest early on. It's just great, but everything else is just meh. There's nothing particularly unique. Their late game roster, I'm gonna be honest, kind of fucking blows. If I recall correctly, I don't even get feudal knights, and they're really good early. They're fantastic early, but as soon as you get to around turn 50, you're really gonna want to finish that up fast, or else you're just not gonna get to the conditions. You'll probably be stuck with the mid roster. Maybe you starve out a few settlements and have like you might be established enough to the point where you just barrel roll or just absolutely dominate on the battlefield, the AI. But your you know your starting position is kind of strong, a little fractured, but the end game roster is just pretty bad. I'm gonna be honest. We're gonna move on. Of course, we have the Turks next. This is a little odd order, but this is the order that we got when I opened up the tier list. And for this one, I'm gonna put the Turks at S tier. There's a reason why Legend of Total War did the Turks for blitzes. Their roster's great. No real holes. They got a lot of horse archers, which are some of the most powerful units in the game, and their proper cavalry, like their proper heavy cavalry, is great. Their general's bodyguard unit, of course, is great. And they have a really good starting position, especially for rebel expansion, because I believe their 4 starting settlements are Mosul, Iconium, Caesarea, and I think it's Yerevan. But you can quite quickly get to Tbilisi, Adana, Trebizond, Baghdad especially, but you might want to leave that one for a while if you're trying to blitz especially. You could just call the crusade there and just ignore it for forever. The only issue really with the Turks, and this is why I don't think they were going to be the most powerful faction, is that they are so close to the Mongol spawning. So if you're playing like a full game, like full world conquest, not just the first 109 territories, you are fucked when the Mongols spawn. Now, if you have all 109 territories, first of all, hats off to you, because you'll probably be close to at least you'll probably hopefully be at a personal record. But 109, if you have all of them, sure, you'll be great. But if you're missing, if you only even have like 40 settlements, the Mongols can be a huge pain in the ass. because right as you think you did enough, boom, they're right on you. And don't spawn at Tbilisi or Baghdad. Maybe they spawn in Sarkel. You probably will have Sarkel. Maybe they spawn in Bulgar. Well, you probably still have Sarkel, and Bulgar is right next to Sarkel. So you'll have some issues with the Mongols regardless. And that's why they're definitely not going to be the top of S. Spain. Oh, no, I did not mean to do that. Why is my computer lagging? It does not like me very much. Spain, we're going to put a B tier. I just find their roster to be... Oh, are we good here? I find their roster to be a little lackluster. Overall, I think that the idea is there, but the javelin units don't do it for me. They're definitely not my playstyle at all, and they're kind of powerful, but I just feel like they're just whatever for a faction, and you'll be kind of close to your main rival, and you can probably get some crusades off pretty early on. But the issue as a Catholic faction is that you do eventually have some issues with the Pope, and you're not close enough really to do anything about it unless you want to sail an army over, taking 4 or 5 turns out of your way to go deal with him. Next we have Sicily. And for Sicily, I'm going to put them at A. Historically, mostly Italian nations. Actually, I mean, AI is a menace to society. You can take them out pretty fast, but they're just a menace. But human Sicily, I put human Sicily at A. Ahead of Venice, though. I gotta drag that way. Sicily has the nice added benefit of being pretty much in the middle of the map, screen-wise, because in terms of like actual settlements, they're pretty far south. But you can go anywhere in the Mediterranean pretty easily. It'll only take you 4 turns to get from your capital to Constantinople, and then by the late game, you'll probably have a pretty solid spread-out empire. And their unit roster is in my better than Venice's. They have... Obviously, we don't have naval battles in Medieval 2 like we do in like Rome 2 or Empire or Attila. But their navy, you probably want to prioritize it a little bit, but you don't have to. You can easily be a land-based power, unlike Venice, where unless you want to really get excommunicated pretty fast, you're going to be a sea-based power, like, moving around your empire. And with Sicily, I think their roster just is great, though. I think that the Norman Knights, they have really good heavy cavalry, which is the king in Medieval 2, which Venice really lacks, but Venice's starting position is very strong. Same with Sicily, but Sicily's a little stronger with starting position and just roster overall, and that's why I'm ranking them higher. The Rebel expansion is not the greatest, but you can go south and west, and thankfully, since the Moors are not a Catholic or Christian nation, you won't lose favor with the Pope if you fight the Moors early on. So that's why I'm putting Sicily in A tier above Venice. Scotland fucking blows. It's awful. I love this faction so much. Oh, no. We gotta do that. Add row below. Alright, let's call this one Scotland. We'll make it blue. It's not Scotland blue, but yeah, this nation's so bad. I'm sorry, bro. They're not good at all. The Rebel expansion is decent. If you rush York, you'll have more settlements than the English on the English Isles. But after that, you can only really go one direction, and it's either you or them, right? It's either you as the Scottish or the English. And so you'll eventually run into a situation where either you lose the game or you absolutely destroy the English. And it'll probably be the latter one, and then the Pope's going to complain about you. The Pope is just going to absolutely excommunicate you. You're going to have issues with your public order. And, you can eventually try to get up into, like, Oslo if you want to sail really far away, do a reverse Viking shit. I think that'd be really funny. Or you can try to get to France, and the Scottish AI does this all the time, where it goes to, like, Antwerp or something. but again, it's just like your roster's also pretty atrocious. It's cool. It's really cool, and they're better in the British Isles campaign, but your roster's just awful. It's just bad. There's no armor, so you're gonna get ripped to shreds late game by England if they even make it to late game. Because if you're a half decent player, you'll just destroy them probably by turn 12, 15 at the latest. And then you'll get excommunicated. Then you'll probably try to kill your ruler off so you know you don't have public order issues. Um, yeah, they're just kind of a shit show. They're a really fun faction. I really love them, but their roster's awful. The whole faction's pretty bad. It's made up for definitely though in the Kingdoms campaign because you have a lot more options there. All right, Russia. This is a really odd order. I don't know what they went by. Maybe by like color palette or reverse. Oh, I think they did a reverse alphabetical because Venice would be last. Yes, reverse alphabetical. Um, so part of me wants to put the Russians like here because the rebel expansion is great. But then you got to take into account they're an Orthodox faction, which means no crusades, but no pope, but no crusades, and a really limited infantry roster. Their cavalry's kind of subpar. You're gonna get hit by the Mongols. Is there a lower tier? No, I'm just kidding. But at the same time, your early game is still pretty solid. So I'm gonna put them about C tier. Um, I watched Legends of Total War's like review of all this, and he agrees with me on Scotland. Scotland's so ass, but Russia, I didn't like his take necessarily. They're like bad. I think they're pretty good, a pretty good faction, especially in terms of like rebel expansion. Because while you only start with Novgorod, you can go every direction and you will not be hit by anybody for miles. Is it boring as hell? Yes, it is. I played Russia like 3 times in my life, and until turn 70, there's no challenge. You're gonna steamroll Poland pretty fast because the Polish AI does not expand as fast as they should, or at least not towards you. So you just get to Krakow at about turn 30 at the latest. If you're like really expanding every direction, and it's a breeze, but it's just really boring. So I'd put them like about here, really, if you wanted to play them very optimally. But they're here because you can't crusade with them, unfortunately. Portugal. I'm gonna be honest. I don't play a ton of Portugal. I haven't played a ton of the Iberian factions. I played a little bit of Spain when I got to Spain because of course I did. I'm gonna put Portugal at about B tier as well. It's another fractured empire. I'm gonna put them above Spain though because I do like their roster a little more. Um, it's a pretty similar roster, but I think Portugal it's one or two more units that I just like more. Same reason as Spain though. They're not that fun. I'm gonna be honest, but all three of these factions are not that fun. Russia's a great beginner faction though. So if you get to play Russia, like or you're one of those weirdos who like doesn't unlock the factions manually by whoa. If you're one of those weirdos who decides not to unlock the factions manually by eliminating them, then you're gonna love Russia a lot because it's a really easy campaign. Next we have Poland. Poland is gonna be. I put him A tier. Still above Venice. I really don't like the Venetian roster. It's atrocious to play with, especially because I got the mobile version of the game at one point because I got really bored, and it's also pretty fun to play on mobile. And I'm sorry, dude. If I have to ever fucking spam another army with Italian spear militia because your Pavese crossbowmen suck that bad, then I'm just gonna die. I'd rather die. Poland has a great amount of cavalry, first of all, and cavalry's king in medieval 2. I keep reiterating this, but it's the truth. And also their general's bodyguard units. Ooh. Um, their infantry is a little lackluster, but their starting position is so strong. It's like Russia, but if Russia actually could like fight other factions. Because you're also never going to get hit by the Mongols that early on, so you have a decent amount of time to expand east and west, which is great. Um, Their roster is super strong. The only issue is that you're kind of right next to a ton of Catholic factions, and there aren't any like pagan factions in Medieval 2, so it's not like you can fight another faction that isn't Russia without facing some Pope problems. But if you're smart, you'll probably get an alliance with Hungary, which historically happened quite a bit. Um, you'll probably take a bunch of stuff from the Holy Roman Empire in terms of rebel settlements, because northern Germany is just a shit show at the start, and it's ripe for the pickings. So next we have the Moors. The Moors are a pretty powerful faction. I'd say, first of all, they're fun. They're really fun. Desert Archer is one of my favorite units in the game. Very cheap. You can really steamroll as the Moors. Like I do realize all the Christian factions are below the Muslim ones, which you know there's something to be said about that. Uh, so the Moors, fantastic faction. Solid cavalry, not the best. Like Desert Cav is solid, but it's not the best. But really good. Again, you're only next to two factions, and they're pretty weak. They sometimes even kill each other. From my experience, like they hate you more than they hate each other, but they will kill each other occasionally. And at that point, you just steamroll them. And of course, you have expansion southward into Timbuktu. Pardon me. You can call a jihad on Paris on like turn one, and then from there you just steamroll up through Iberia into Paris, into France. And that's why I definitely put the Moors as like they're oftentimes a superpower faction. Also, the AI. Okay. I at least understood why the Norman AI historically, right, was on my shores at like turn 9 if I'm in a Mediterranean faction. I get it. They're the Normans. They're actually Vikings. Why are the Moors doing that too? With like, it's always like 3 random units. Is this just a bug in Medieval 2's code? That the Moors just have to fucking attack Florence or wherever the hell I am with just 3 units, and then I have to repel them, and then they ask for a ceasefire. Because like that didn't happen historically, right? I'm not tweaking that. I know it's Medieval 2. It's not the most historical game ever, but for the time it might have been up there. But still, man, I never understood that. At least like with the Sicilians, it makes sense. They were Vikings, dude. If you didn't know that, well, now you do. Milan. First of all, fuck Milan as a human player, bro. That sucks. But I would have to put them around the other Italian states because they're just all right. I think their starting position is a little better, or is a little worse than Venice's. So actually, no, I'm gonna put them at the top of B tier because their starting position is pretty ass. Because where are you gonna expand? All right, you got 2 settlements to the north and the 2 to the south. That's only 6 settlements. You're only gonna have 6, 7. You only have 6 settlements, right, for the whole fucking game. Like, what are we doing here? Why? Like, at least with Venice, you have some other non-Christian expansion options as well. But with Milan, you are going to be hitting Christians everywhere you go because to your west is France, to your east is the Holy Roman Empire, and maybe you snipe Florence. But you're still going to have to deal with Venice, who's going to be one of your main rivals, and the Holy Roman Empire in Bologna. And also you're going to have to deal with the issue of the Swiss, because Bern is really hard to fucking take as a rebel settlement. And so is Dijon for that matter. It's a pretty well defended town. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of early game challenges, but their roster is still pretty good. The Genoese crossbowmen are better than anything Venice has to offer. The only issue is that Milan's starting position is just worse than Venice's. So moving on, we have Hungary. It's 1 or 2. They're so good. Hungary just has all the perks of being a Christian faction with none of the downsides. Because you can just ignore all the bullshit going on in Europe and just go on crusades the whole time. Like the crusade mechanic, and historically this is kind of true as well, is pretty much made for Hungary. They have a great roster. Feudal Knights, dismounted Feudal Knights. If you have those in your roster, you're going to do fine. And not to mention, a really decent early game roster with great expansion options. You can go to Bessarabia, Bulgaria, and you can even grab Zagreb if you're fast enough. And you should overall be pretty set for the whole game after about turn 10, I want to say, because you'll have a solid foundation, and you can probably expand and take over the Byzantines pretty quick, and from there call a crusade, take over the Holy Land. You should be about 50 settlements at that point, as long as you defended your homeland of Hungary. Just get an alliance with the Poles or something, you'll be fine. But yeah, Hungary's a great faction. They're really like in an optimal position to do everything. And historically, they were one of the big superpowers. The only reason they really lost in late stage medieval Europe is just because their king died a ton. Like they'd get a new king and he just instantly fucking died of something. And then randomly John Hunyadi would try to take over. And that's pretty much why they fell to the Ottomans as well. The HRE, gonna put them above the Moors, but still an S, because their early game rebel expansion is just fantastic, and their late game units they're underrated in my opinion. First of all, their late game's nowhere near as bad as Venice's, and I think has something that really benefits it in that you start off as pretty much being the second most powerful faction to the Byzantines. And even then, you're probably more powerful when it comes to expansion because your empire is entirely like centralized, except for Bologna. Um, your entire empire is just it's great. It's centralized. You can go conquer Hamburg. You can conquer Antwerp, Bruges, Metz pretty easily. You can take Zagreb even pretty fast, which is, historically that did not happen, but you can get there pretty fast. You can get to Bohemia and Prague. You can even get to Breslau, Stettin, and Magdeburg pretty easily. So at that point, you'll probably have like 12 settlements by, if you're fast about it, turn 12. You can have 12 settlements by turn 12. This whole empire. If you're lucky and the Polish AI is stupid, then you'll take Thorn pretty fast too. It's happened to me in a few games. This is one of my favorite factions to play. This is the faction that started my channel entirely. And I think they have a really solid to just be the superpower of the game. And that's why that's why I'm putting them in S tier. All right, France. They're just kinda all right. I'm gonna be honest. I never saw the appeal, and also part of this fun is not being taken into account, because if fun was being taken into account, boom. If fun was also being taken into account, yeah, I don't have fun with Venice. Oh my god, their roster sucks. But France, they're all right. Um, you know, no real problems. They're just kind of whatever. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I want to put Spain down here. No real reason. I just don't like them. And I live in Spain. Nothing against the country, Spain, but the faction in Medieval 2 is just boring as shit. um, France, I'm gonna put them above Portugal as well. They just have the issue of being the generic medieval kingdom, so the roster's pretty limited. Uh, Along with that, you're not too close to the Pope, so it's not like you can combat him in a meaningful way. Because at least with the HRE, you can take control of the papacy pretty fast. The same with Hungary. You can, because you just have to hop across the Adriatic after you take control of Zagreb, and maybe you fight a war for Ragusa or something with Venice. But you can take control of the papacy pretty fast, as all these other nations, maybe not Poland, but you're kind of removed from papal politics in the first place as Poland. But you can take control of the papacy as pretty much all of these nations, and even Milan. But as France, no, you can't. All right. Next we're gonna have Egypt. I'm gonna leave England for last, second to last. Egypt is, in my opinion, the worst of the Muslim nations that you can play as. They're probably about a B tier. You can still call jihads whenever. They're about France. You can call jihads whenever, but that being said, they don't have the best roster. It's comparable. It's pretty similar to the Moors. Uh, you can't snowball super easily because all the settlements in that general area are pretty far away from each other. Like Gaza is like topical, about I think 2 turns away from Jerusalem being the next closest settlement, which is it's a short uh, it's a short trek. And the same goes from there to Accra, but then you're about 3 from Damascus, and once you get into the Levant, there's more settlements. But to get to Tripoli takes you forever. To get to your own settlements, to get to Dongola takes you forever. So the Egypt does have some problems starting out, but you can get the ball rolling with them. That's why actually I'm gonna put them in the A tier. I did want some diversity. That's kind of wanted I wanted them down here. Kind of why I wanted them down here because I did want uh, for one of the Muslim nations to be a little lower, but I can't see the deck, bro. That's not fair. I gotta point out the fair point that Egypt is a good nation to play. They're solid. They have a solid roster. It's not the best, but it's not the worst by far. Denmark, probably D tier. I'd put them. Like they have a solid. eh, No, Rebel expansion. They're above Spain in terms of that. Because with Denmark, you're right next to the Holy Roman Empire, but you can take a lot of the settlements that the Holy Roman Empire wants, and not to mention, you can legitimately get to a lot of just because of the way the AI operates. You can probably get a whole North Sea empire going. You can even take Inverness from the Scottish early on, and we're gonna have the D tier be empty because Scotland is just that bad. Their roster is a little bit lackluster though. Like Viking infantry's decent, Viking raiders are decent. Their cavalry's awful though. They don't really have any heavy cav options. Um, their starting position's solid, but it's only one settlement, so it's not like I can rank it very high. All right, we'll go with England. We'll go with the faction I'm playing right now. I'm playing a campaign as the Byzantines right now, and they're A tier. The only thing that's holding them back from S tier is the fact they don't get the Crusade mechanic like every other nation does. So they're probably even better than Venice, which is a little bit ironic. I think that's a little bit funny to me. Um, but like I'm on turn 60 right now, and I'm playing casual, and I got like 35 settlements, and it'll probably be like 38 by the next time I click end turn. They're just an easy ass faction, and they're fun. They're really fun. You can really fuck them up though. So, sorry, they're a strong faction. They're not easy. If you do not know how to use cavalry, avoid this nation at all costs. Go for like Denmark if you don't know how to use cavalry. Because cavalry is king, and you will fuck yourself so hard if you don't know how to use cavalry, especially not horse. If you don't know how to use horse archers, dude, you're screwed. Next we got, or well, I guess I gotta elaborate a little more. Most of their roster is horse archers, and also the what's it called? Conventional wisdom, right behind building up settlements is castles for like your units, cities for X, Y, and Z. Not necessarily true with the Byzantines because you have ranging guard, you have Byzantine infantry that both come from cities. So you got to realize build up Constantinople early is something I forgot to do actually. We're on turn 60 and I still don't have ranging guard, I don't think. And you're going to have issues if you don't realize how they build. So just make sure you familiarize, yes, familiarize yourself with the roster and just how they build overall. And finally, as I'm wrapping this up, we have England. This is probably like my most played faction because they're the default faction. They just are. France is like the second default faction, the HRE third. But I'd put England in like their late game is just so strong. Like, if you stick it out to the late game, you are going to wreck everybody. Because their fucking longbows are just so broken. It's nuts. I mean, this is realistic too, because they absolutely dominated the French in Agincourt. I think I'm gonna have to give them. The only issues they don't really have. I'm gonna put them back for now. Can I get it? Can I put them back? No, they're not in the Scotland here. No. I'm gonna make this call. They're S tier. While you do have a pretty shit starting position, if you're smart, and I mean smart, you will waltz your ass up to Scotland and just take over. Take it over. Get some favor with the Pope first, of course. Then take it over, and now you are Scottish now. And then boom. And then you won't have any issues with the Pope for the rest of the game, because if France attacks you, you can probably annihilate them, and maybe you'll get excommunicated, maybe. But if you play it right, you should just be able to kill their king in battle, and then all their heirs and shit, and then they'll just be rebels, and you can just conquer rebels without problems. And you have solid rebel expansion. You can get to Bruges easily. Antwerp is a little weird, personally. I never really go for that one as much. I mean, if it's available, it's available. Take what you can get. But generally, I like to kind of carve around the French. Go for, you know, voice crack. Rennes, Bordeaux, Carnarvon, of course. Take all the English Isles settlements as well, and annihilate Scotland. And then you should have about, I want to say, 15 or so territories by like turn 25, 30. And then once that crusade gets called, go off to the Holy Land, and you will get a bunch of shit down there. Like, Egypt never defends Cairo, so just call it on Cairo and you're good. If you want to be historical and go for Jerusalem, just go for Jerusalem, because I'm going to be honest, the rebels defend Jerusalem better than Egypt defends Cairo, and it's really funny to me. Either way, England is a superpower, because that late game roster is insane. Oh my god, it's nuts. They don't have armored sergeants, unfortunately, which is one of the better mid-game spear units. But oh my. The late game roster is just phenomenal. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed. Hope this audio recording didn't clip too much or didn't cut out a little bit too much. And I will see you all next time. Be sure to like and subscribe. Love you all, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.